Alright, you snivelling gits, it's time for an Ork'n'Talk, so sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride.
How you doing, guys? It's Big Mac Dance School here on day number 19 of October, and it also happens to be my sister's birthday, so if you could, everybody wish her a happy birthday. It's day number 19 of October, and this is my first ever Ork'n'Talk video. So now the first couple of questions I'll be addressing are from my original Waffle and Walk series. One comes from Jamjar34 and the other from Idic Bear. So firstly I'll address Jamjar34's question, which was, what armies have I got and what made me choose them? Basically, my first love in the hobby was Eldar. Now this was back when I first started playing the hobby when I was a youngster, and that handily links in with Nick's question. So Nick's question was, what's my how long have I been in the hobby, and when did I get started? So I got started when I was about 12, and as I said, my first love was Eldar. They just really appealed to me, the aesthetic of them, and I thought they had really cool names and stuff like Striking Scorpions and the Viper jet bike and stuff, and the whole idea of basically like a bike that can hover above the ground and you can fly around on. Like, I love the I think the bikes the stormtroopers use in the Star Wars movies, like the chase scenes and stuff through the woods. I loved all that sort of stuff. So that's what really drew me to the Eldar, these jet bikes. Even though I've said on previous videos I don't love the Eldar jet bike. As it was, the new one is much better. It looks much more dynamic. I think the Eldar jet bike as was it was a bit static looking, sat up, straight backed and everything. But as they've redone them now, crouched over the jet bike, it looks like like you see a superbike rider going around a track. It looks like that sort of pose now, which is much better. Anyway, I've been going a bit off topic there, haven't I? Yeah, so my first love, back to Jamjar's question, my first love was Eldar. I love the aesthetic and the cool names. But then I sort of drifted out of the hobby for many years. So I originally got into the hobby when I was just going into high school, so I would have been 11 and 12. And it was friends that got me into the hobby. So I had a friend who I grew up on the same road as, and the school he went to, he had some friends there that were into the hobby, so they got him into the hobby, and then he got me into the hobby. And when I went to high school and found a mate who I still play with to this day, in terms of wargaming, he was into the hobby as well, so that's what got me into the hobby, basically just friendship. And then, so I went out of the hobby from the age of about 14 or 15 probably, but I had a lot of miniatures and stuff, and luckily I didn't throw any of them away. So a few years ago I got back into the hobby and painted up a unit of Dire Avengers that had been sitting there for God knows how long. And then as I was painting them up, I was constantly checking the GW website for new releases and stuff, and it just so happens that Orcs were being released at the time, that me and a friend of mine were both looking at getting back into the hobby. So it really encouraged me to go for Orcs, because physically I've always been, like, I'm not that big now, height wise and everything, but throughout school and everything I was always I was the tallest, or one of the tallest kids in the year. I was on the rugby team, and I was a big kid. So physically, my friends always see me as like a big sort of oafish kind of guy. So he's really encouraged me to go for Orcs, because he saw me that way. Not the elegant elfness of the Eldar race. So he encouraged me to go for Orcs, but also the release just came out. I was egged on by my friend, and also the conversion possibilities you get with Orcs. That's what really drew me into them. I just really like the fact that they can take basically any vehicle in the 40k universe and they can make it their own. The rules might be limiting, the looted wagon rules and stuff might be limiting, but basically they can do whatever they want with any vehicle, appearance wise, and they can make it look like one of their own, which I think is fantastic. Also, one more thing to point out about Nick's question. It was how did I get into how long have I been in the hobby and what got me started. So I said friendship and stuff, but a love of sci-fi basically as well. I've always been more of a Star Trek as opposed to Star Wars guy, and I just love all the different races you get in the Star Trek universe. And when I was growing up as well, there was always a Star Trek series on TV, whether it be The Next Generation. I was born in '85, so like basically as I started becoming aware of television and stuff, The Next Generation was on TV constantly. The original series, I'd watch reruns of that, and then came DS9 and Voyager, and like Voyager was my favourite series, to be honest. I did like Enterprise as well. I thought that was really good. So I'll move on to the next question now. And this one comes from Pete over at Mini Warzone. He asks, do I have any particular hopes for 40k in the future? Basically, I hope I keep enjoying it as much as I do. Enjoying building, converting, painting. I've mentioned in loads of other videos, my painting level isn't where I'd want it to be, so I kind of hope, my painting continues to improve. And I will eventually get an airbrush. I've still not got one yet. So I will eventually get an airbrush, and that might help the speed of my painting, if nothing else. I'm not definite that I'd become very adept at using it, if that's the right word. I'm not, I don't think I'd become an expert in it, but you never know. I might do. I might pick it up and just absolutely love it and go from strength to strength. But basically, the reason I wanted an airbrush was mainly for base coating. But yeah, hopes for 40k in the future. Continue to enjoy it, and probably just I'm not sure. Well, I guess an ambition would be to have a small force of every single faction in the universe. Going back to Jamjar's questions, I only mentioned Orcs and Eldar because they're the only armies that I have any amount of figures painted for. I also have miniatures for Sisters of Battle, Adepts of Sorotas. I also have Grey Knights, basically just undercoated, not painted. I bought a force off eBay. I got it for a really good deal, probably less than half price. I also have I have my Imperial Knight Force as well, which I've got 3 built and painted for that I had commission painted. I developed my own house and history of the house. And what else do I have? So I have a unit of Tempestus Scions and a Tau Rocks. I was using some bits off the Tau Rocks to convert an Orc truck, so I thought I'd buy the Tau Rocks and might as well get some Scions to go with that, and then I can have a small Tempestus Scions force in the future. And what else? I have a load of Space Marines from various starter sets, and so I've got loads of different forces as is. Oh, and I have a Dark Eldar starter set battle force as well, and an Archon, which is again unbuilt and unpainted. So I've got a load of stuff there. I just like to work my way through it, and then once I've done that, once I've done all of that, I move on to the next army. But of course, by the time I've finished all of that, I'm sure Eldar will have had another release, Orcs will have had another release. At the minute, Tower having their release, and I'm really liking some of the rules. Like for the Ghost Keel suit, I really like the rules for that. It gets something like a 2-up save out in the open if you're more than 12 inches away from it. If the unit shooting at it is more than 12 inches away from it, so I really like that. And of course the is it the Storm Surge? I think it's a Storm Surge, the big massive one, and Forge World have released one as well that looks amazing. I've also seen I think it's Forge World Open Day that's just happened. Some leaked photos from that has shown some kind of a bike unit for Tau as well, which could be really interesting going forward. So yeah, that's hopes for 40k in the future. I hope I've answered that. But yeah, just continue to enjoy the hobby mainly, and an ambition, if that's what you meant, would be to have a small faction of each force. So moving on to the next question, and it comes from Kiblams. Now there's 2 questions. The first one, any plans for scratch built stuff at all? And the second one, what's your shoe size? So I'll address that one first, because that's really simple to answer and I won't waffle on as long. So my shoe size is size 10, although it's not that simple to answer because the length of my foot isn't a size 10, but the width of it, I don't feel comfortable. The length of my foot is probably a size maybe 9.5. And I worked at a Nike store before I was made redundant. So the length so basically the reason I'm mentioning that is because we used Brannick devices to measure feet and stuff. So the length of my foot, my friend actually measured my feet, and he recommended me to go for a size 9. Now my foot isn't wide enough on the Brannick device to warrant a wide fit shoe. So he recommended me to go for a size 9, or at a push a 9.5. My feet are slightly different sizes like most people's. But yeah, I feel much more comfortable in a size 10. So the answer to that is I wear a size 10. So I guess that's my shoe size. The previous question, the first question, any plans for Ork scratch built stuff at all? Yes. Well, I say yes. There's no plans at the minute, but I would definitely like to scratch build some stuff in the future. Obviously, I'm building my Ork'n'Talk Mork'n'Talk at the moment using parts from other kits and stuff and plasticard. So that has elements of scratch building in there, but I wouldn't consider it a completely scratch built kit because obviously I'm using other kits in there. So yeah, there's definitely plans for scratch built stuff in the future. Maybe start off with something like terrain. So I'm not. Because it gets moved around less terrain, it's less likely to fall apart if it's not very well built and the structure's not quite there. But yeah, start with something like terrain, just like some barricades and stuff. I've done some oak barricades and stuff in the past just using cardboard, but I'd like to do some like more sturdy ones using plasticard and stuff. And I have a stomper that I want at some point to get finished, obviously. And once that's finished, once I've got a stomper, I'll have a Ork'n'Talk and a Mork'n'Talk. I'd like to custom build my own stomper, or possibly make I can't remember the name of it, an Ork Battle Fortress, which is I think it's in the Apocalypse rulebook. They recommend you use the Baneblade kit and build it around that. But you know, if I don't want to pay £80-90, whatever a Baneblade kit is, then I could see myself scratch building something like that. It's just something for the future and kind of a pipe dream at the moment. But yeah, definitely. Thanks for that question as well, and head over to Kiblam's channel as well if you want to see more cool Orky stuff, because he's building a truck at the moment, which is absolutely fantastic, and he's building it so he can. It's a cab with a trailer, an articulated lorry, and he's building it so he can change the back of it, so he can have a flatbed back, which is just carrying another truck or vehicle or a load of boys. And he's got a tank, like a fuel tank, he can put on there and stuff. Bob over to his channel. I'll put links in the description below to all the channels of the guys that have asked questions as well, by the way. Thanks very much for that question, and I'll move on to the next one. The final question, or set of questions I should say, comes from Tabletop Banter. So he says, why Orks? Favourite Ork unit, and can you give us your best war? So I'll save that to last. Why Orks, firstly? I've mentioned already when answering previous questions. Basically, it's the ability to convert them. That's what's really drawn me to them. And prior to their re-release, I got hold of the previous codex, and some of the rules in there just seemed really funny and like fun to play. So I just like the comedy elements, but also just the fact that they've got a one-track mind, basically. There's something that appeals to me about just wanting to smash stuff and fight. That side of me sort of drew me to the Orks. But more so hobby-wise, and what I want to spend my time doing, the ability to convert stuff up and build stuff and make it your own. That's what really drew me in. So favourite Ork unit is a tricky one. I honestly don't know. I quite like some of the rules, some of the psychic powers the Weird Boys get. So I could say Weird Boy, but they're not that great in game. Commandos I think are really cool, and if I was to go off the aesthetics of a model, I'd probably say Boss Snickrot, just because I think he's really cool. He's sneaking along with two knives, Mork's teeth I think it is, and he's got one finger raised up as if to say shh, and keep everything quiet. And then just the fluff behind the unit as well is supposedly, from, if I remember correctly from reading through the Orc Codex, he's supposedly like on Armageddon in the current 40k universe. He's on Armageddon and just slaughters people wherever he can. That's if I remember rightly. I could be wrong there. Forgive me if I am wrong. But yeah, so probably Boss Snickrot, just through, you know, I think the model looks really cool, and through the rules and stuff, and also through the fluff. I really like fluff. That's, you know, obviously I read the Horus Heresy books because I really like the way they're written and stuff. But then with the codexes, or the codices rather, I really like the fluff that you get in there. Even though I've not really played Eldar, I got the limited edition Eldar Codex, and that's because I'm a big Eldar fan, and I like to read through the Codex and just take in the fluff. But definitely with Orcs as well, just reading through the Codex, taking in the fluff, and Boss Snickrot probably. Just through his fluff, I'd have to go with Boss Snickrot, I reckon. So what else was there? So why Orcs? Favourite Orc unit, and can you give us your best war? Big mechs don't war.
Big mechs don't war, but just as a little treat, I'll give you one.
Chill out, Big Mech. Right, guys, thanks very much for listening. I was about to say I'll see you on the battlefield then, but I don't quite want to end it there. Hopefully I've managed to put some videos up over this talking, so it's not just a blank screen really boring for you. But if I've not, I apologise. I'll put some pictures or something up. Yeah, thanks very much for watching. If you've got any questions you want to ask for my next Waffle and Walk video, or possibly another Ork'n'Talk, then just pop them in the description down below. I'd really appreciate it. Feel free to ask questions that you've asked other people. If you don't want to have to think of a new question for each video that of this type. I know Idic Bear does them, and Mini Warzone, Peter Mini Warzone does them, and I think I've seen Aceface do them as well every so often. So yeah, pop any questions you've got down below for the next one. Thanks very much for watching and listening, and I will see you on the battlefield.